That was mighty interesting, Steve. Iain Mansfield, what do you think about income tax?
Yeah, so I certainly agree that she's in a hole. I mean, we spent 111 billion pounds on interest payments last year. Just to put that into perspective, that's more than 1,500 pounds for every man, woman, and child in the country. But I think the Chancellor and a lot of the wider commentary is looking at this in the wrong way. She shouldn't be looking to raise taxes. She needs to rein in public spending. And actually, if we look at this, we published a report at Policy Exchange last week. I was a co-author called Beyond Our Means. And as a nation, we have been living beyond our means for a long time. And we set out there up to 115 billion pounds of potential public spending cuts. You
Go
wouldn't have
on.
to make all of
Give us
those
the, give us,
115 billion.
give us your top ones.
Yeah, so I guess the two biggest ones, and I would go back to some of what Nicola from Northumbria said about it's not fair that those on benefits are not being asked to pay a price. And we look at a 3-year freeze to both the state pension and to most working age benefits. And between that, that would raise over 50 billion pounds. So that's well over the black hole that the Chancellor says that she needs. We also need to address some of the eligibility scandals in welfare. So you're seeing the Motability scheme where people are being given brand new cars. I mean, most ordinary working people don't buy brand new cars. They buy second-hand cars. And now you can get it. It was meant to be for people who had serious mobility needs, who had a specially adjusted car. No problem with that, I think. I think most people have problems with that. But now you can get it for things like ADHD or anxiety, and you get a brand new car funded by the taxpayer. I think the real reason why raising taxes, however you do it, is the wrong reason, is because of the damaging effect it has on the economy. And again, I go back to what we heard from Nicola, an employer out there. After the national insurance rises last year, she's had to lay someone off. That's someone who may now be dependent on the state for benefits and who is certainly not contributing to economic growth. Now, last year, the Chancellor came and she raised taxes by 40 billion, and she said it would be a one-off. But actually, if we look at how that's damaged the economy, now she's coming back for more. And if we keep getting into this doom spiral of raising taxes and then slower economic growth and then having to raise taxes again, we will never get out of it. It's not going to be easy cutting spending. It's not like there's loads of waste hanging around everywhere. There was a bit of waste, but it's far more that we need to make the tough decisions and start living within our means again, as we've not done for at least a decade.
Well, we also had the thing about the unravelling, which Steve mentioned. So in the days after, we have to sort of start thinking about when the first U-turn will be. We're reminded of the Omni shambles under George Osborne. But of course, the driving force to those many people of good conscience on the back benches who stymied the last set of welfare reforms is because of the scourge in our society of child poverty, Iain.
Yeah, so I mean, we look at that. You don't actually have to target those. As I say, I talked about pensions and I talked about working age benefits. I mean, actually, if you looked at the amount that you could save by that sort of freeze, there are all sorts of things you could do on targeted measures to help those really in need. For example, why are we giving out so many benefits which are non-means tested, whether those are to pensioners, to free prescriptions, for example, or why are we giving universal infant free school meals to those under 7 instead of focusing it on those who need it most, like we do for the rest of it? Why are we paying for the meals of the children of millionaires? Child poverty has been fairly stable now for around 20 years. It's set as a sort of proportionate measure, so it's set in terms of the proportion of median incomes. It's one of those things that says you get richer as a society, then the proportion tends to just keep pace as you get richer. And again, it comes back to that. There are lots of great things that we would like to do. In our report, we said that actually, if you make those savings, that a quarter of the savings should go on defence, because there's a real need to defend ourselves against, the threat of Russia and so forth.
Some say yes, some say no. What about the NHS?
The NHS, largely the NHS is still needed. We said only 10 billion savings from the NHS, and that's based on what it would be in 2030. So we're saying the NHS budget should still grow, but grow slightly more slowly. There are a few things around management efficiencies, better use of IT that let you squeeze things out a little bit further.
Hearing that for years, all that stuff.
An interesting fact on this one. So we weren't always as bad. So we now have more midwives in the NHS than we did 10 years ago, even though fewer babies are being born. And that's just a very stark fact of how we're doing less but spending more.